An Alabama native left his nearby rural community more than 60 years ago to become a gold medal winning executive chef at five-star hotels and fine dining spots.
Chef Charles C.L. Bailey recently sat down with our Eric Reynolds to talk about his career, the long hours and hard work of becoming the first in his era. Here's the interview.
I was too little to work in the field, so she kept me in the kitchen around her. So I was able to go get the wood from the wood pile and kept the fire going, go to the pump and get the water. And I would shell peas and the butter beans and pull the corn and cut it up. So I got interested in that.
Chef Charles Bailey's work in the kitchen started in Vinegar Bend, Alabama with his grandmother. The gold medal winning chef has cooked for the famous in politics, civil rights, and sports. Bailey was 15 when he left Vinegar Bend.
She put me in the wagon and we drove down to the depot. She put me on the train and I came to Mobile. And the next day he sent me to New Orleans.
In New Orleans, he received a dual education. Public school in the morning and culinary arts in the afternoon.
Got out at 1 o'clock and went to the hotel and worked at. I was the assistant to the chefs, the cooks, and I didn't like washing dishes, running to a dish machine. And I started peeling potatoes, peeling onions. Nothing was bought chopped. I got more attached to the culinary art profession.
The Roosevelt Hotel's executive chef was Algerian by birth and European trained.
So Daniel Serpi took me under his wings and began tutoring me. He was executive chef for the American Association of Chefs. It took me 5 years to become first cook. You just didn't run and put a chapeau on and run out there and say you were a chef. You had to learn all the techniques about everything.
The techniques included butcher, baker, roasting, communication, management, and sanitation.
We worked 7 days a week, 12-hour shifts. It wasn't no go in and get out. No. Took me 5 years. It was very hard.
The French Quarter and the Royal Orleans was his next stop.
I got lucky at the Royal Orleans Hotel. Someone called me from there and asked me, do I want to come to work at the Royal Orleans Hotel. I worked the graveyard shift. Then I went from the night saucier into soups. Back then, you made everything from scratch. You didn't buy no camera. They promoted me to executive sous chef of the Royal Orleans. Braniff Airlines, they weaned me away from the Royal Orleans, and I became executive chef there. I was the first African-American chef, worked for a 4- or 5-star hotel, trained in tradition.
In the early 70s, Bailey became a medal-winning chef.
I competed against all the European chefs. 71 and 72, I won gold medals back-to-back. Every area has its own tradition of cuisine. The Southern, and especially Louisiana, is supposed to be your top next to the European. But the West Indies and the Creole people got together, and we can throw down. I became the executive chef for the Baton Rouge Hotel. When Mr. Ronald Reagan ran for president, I was the executive chef there, and in line to receive Mr. Ronald Reagan. And it was a thrill.
He greeted and cooked for the famous like Anwar Sadat, Nelson Mandela, and Muhammad Ali. Chef Bailey opened his own place in the 1980s.
I wanted to see my name in lights and open up a restaurant called Chef Place in Catfish Town, Bailey's Back Door. I got lucky and moved to Atlanta, Georgia, where I stayed for quite some time. Underground Atlanta, I opened up that Underground Atlanta in a West Indies restaurant.
In 1999, Chef Bailey retired and moved back to New Orleans. He survived Katrina and returned to Alabama and Mobile. With nearly 60 years in his profession, Chef Bailey remains an ambassador of the culinary arts.
Being a cook or chef is like being a doctor, chemist. Cook is not just made. Got to be first in your heart. If it's not in your heart, you can't be a cook.
In Mobile, Eric Reynolds, Fox 10 News.
During his long career, Chef Bailey also cooked at many of the fine restaurants in the Big Easy. Familiar names like Court of Two Sisters, Andrew Jackson's, Broussard's, and the Southern Yacht Club.
Today in retirement, he promotes his non-traditional cookbook and is available to work with nonprofits and other events.
Well, coming up next.